Om. Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. ध्यायामोधवलावकुण्ठनवतीं तेजोमयीं नैष्ठिकीं निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनीं भगवतीं मन्दस्मितश्रीमुखीं वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरं सङ्कीर्तनालापिनीं श्यामां गीमदसिक्तसूक्तिम् अमृतानन्दात्मिकामीश्वरीम् ॐ अमृतेश्वरी नमः ॐ गुरुभ्यो नमः ॐ गं गणपतये नमः महासरस्वती नमः ॐ. My infinite prostrations at the lotus feet of Amma, Universal Teacher, Universal Mother, and my humble pranams to all Amma's beloved children. Today, I would like to speak mainly about Kannada Rajotsava. It is only in Karnataka that we celebrate Rajotsava in a very grand manner, beginning from November 1st. Even though all states they formed on November 1st, it is only in Karnataka we see that from November 1st, the whole month we celebrate, we have a lot of festivals in connection with Kannada Rajotsava. And I thought I should speak about a few words about Rajotsava, mainly because for a long time, Bangalore Makkalu, they have been requesting me to speak, to give online talks. And I asked Amma about this. I asked Amma that Bangalore Makkalu, they have been asking me to give online talks. And Amma said, Kodukamello, Ividi Kodukam, Bangalore Kodukam. So the Amma said, you can give here in Amritapuri, you can give online talks in Amritapuri and Bangalore. That's what Amma said. So with Amma's blessings and your prayers, let me start. The topic we can discuss is the current topic which we discuss here in the evenings after bhajans. We can see that Amma asks questions and then we answer the questions. We had to remember one very important point that Amma, it is very, very methodically progressing. It's a connection. The question, every question Amma asks, every verse Amma asks, explain is indirectly connected to the necessity of a living master. Many times I have told you this important point that for us, Amma's Makkalu, Amma's children, necessity of a living master is a very, very important point. And here again, the current topics which are being discussed here is, what do you know, it is Sanatana Dharma. Amma said, what do you know about Sanatana Dharma? And then the four Purusharthas, this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Then Amma said Dharma, Karma, Moksha. And then finally Amma said, Amma asked this very, very important question. Is it possible to make the Rajotsava, this country, the present situation, present country, Rajotsava? That's a very, very important question. So I thought that I can take this topic of Rajotsava, the Ramarajyam. The question Amma asks is it possible to make this present country, the situation, Ramarajyam? So what is Ramarajyam? Ramarajyam is a place where Sri Rama, the king, is worshipped as a god, and the king was extremely dignified, is a divine king, and all the subjects, all the people were very, very happy. They were all dharmic. That is Treta Yoga, it happened. And is it possible to have such a situation now? Is Amma's question. It is, of course, if we have a Sadguru like Amma, and if we are determined that we want a situation, a country like Ramarajya. So we say, now we can say Ramarajyolsava, we can say. Is it all right? You say Amma said Ramarajyam, so we can say Ramarajyolsava. So they are celebrating Ramarajyolsava. What we can see that. So about Sanatana Dharma, I'm sure most of you are watching online programs, Amma's online programs in the evening. So most of you have heard our brahmacharinis and our devotees, wonderful talks. You can see, this is the power of the grace of the Guru. You see how when they do those who do real tapas, you see how creative they are. They are very much different from the other talks which we hear outside. Here even the brahmacharinis, the low profile brahmacharinis and brahmacharis, they are giving wonderful talks. That means they are doing a lot of tapas, lot of archana, lot of japa, lot of dhyana, and the seva which Amma has given them, and that spiritual power in them, they enable us. I am really shocked. Sometimes so I feel a little nervous to speak in front of them because they know so much. Their satsangs are so beautiful, so attractive. So the Sanatana Dharma, they have already explained very beautifully. Sanatana means eternal, never ever, the non-changing, ever existing, changeless. That is Sanatana. Dharma, in simple words, it means law. So Dharma, they have explained it very well. In a few words, we can explain what we mean by Dharma. Dharma, in simple words, you can say thoughts, speech, words and actions, thoughts, speech and actions which take us towards our goal. And what is our goal? Our nature is Paramananda. It clearly says, Vishwavimohini Anashwara Rupini Shashvatanandam Nalgu Amrita Rupini. So this is Shashvatanandam. Shashvatanandam is our very nature. Our very nature is Paramananda. And all those thoughts, words and actions which take us closer to our nature Paramananda, that we call as Dharma. And all those thoughts, speech, words and actions which take us away from our Paramananda, they are Adharma. So that is the Dharma in short. So we come to the question now, how do we know which are the thoughts? And of course, it originates in thought. Thoughts alone become the speech and speech alone become the actions. So it originates as thought. So how do we know that which are the thoughts, words and actions which take us towards our Dharma? The 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Vyavasthito. Therefore, let Shastras be your Pramanam, your guide. Let the scriptures be your guide. The Vedas are our basic scripture, and we know we are always discussing Bhagavad Gita, Puranas we have. We know all these things very well. So therefore, our guide is the Vedas are our guide, and of course it is Shruti and Smriti also. And of course, our main guide is our Guru Amma. She is our main guide. She has told us. She has, very often she makes us understand how selfless thoughts and selfless speech and leads to selfless actions, they take us to our goal. Amma has almost every day she explains that compassion. So therefore, our Shastras say that the entire universe is God. Purusha evedagam sarvam. Everything is God. Etavan asya mahima. Whatever we see and whatever we hear in this world, it's a manifestation of Bhagavan or Bhagavati, and therefore we look upon our vision is all creatures are manifestations of the Supreme Being. This is the vision, and with that vision, remembering this, when we speak and when we act, that becomes Dharma. That is very, very clear. So very often we hear the Vedas are divided into two. It is called Vedanta. We have heard very often, we say Vedanta. Vedanta, Anta means the end. At the Veda Anta, at the end it's called Vedanta. And we call it Veda Purva also. The first is Veda Purva, the beginning of the Vedas. They are voluminous. Vedanta is very little, it comes at the end. Upanishads. Veda Purva is very, very vast, and they contain, or in short, they contain Varna, Ashrama, Dharma. All the rituals and everything they contained in Veda Purva, the beginning. So Varna, Ashrama, Dharma. Varna, we know, Varna is what we call as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Ashrama also we know. Ashrama is Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihastha Ashrama, Vanaprastha Ashrama, Sannyasa Ashrama. So what are the duties of these? These are what we call as the Varna Ashrama Dharma. That is what is that comes in the Veda Purva. So now see how can we convert? Is it possible to convert this present our country into Rama Rajya? So Rajya, when we mean say Rajya, in those days we see it is not just India. The whole world was ruled by Bhagavan Rama himself. The emperors of the Surya Vamsha and the emperors of the Chandra Vamsha, Sri Krishna, so they ruled almost the entire world, all 7 continents. So now we have now it is the Bharata means from Himalayas, the border from the Himalayas down up to the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean. We have India or Bharata. At least now can we have a what do you call it? The Rama Rajya. So we can say, you know, when you look at the wall, we can say, take an example of a wall. I think I've already given the example once. A wall, the bricks, the unit of a wall is a brick. If the bricks are strong and good quality, then the wall becomes very strong wall. If the quality of the bricks are inferior, low quality bricks, then the wall is also, the whole wall can be very dangerous. It can collapse. In the same way, when we say Bharata, when we say India is my country, India, it is the geographical area and the people. The people constitute the nation. When we say India, we mean the Indian people, Indian citizens. If our quality is good, if we are dharmic, then we can have a Rama Rajya, and especially when we have a king like Sri Rama or Sri Krishna or the other great kings of Surya Vamshis. Lately also we can take the example of Shivaji. In the history also, we have so many great kings. Chandragupta Maurya, Samudragupta Maurya, so many great kings were there. And the subjects, the people, they are selfless. Then we can have a Rama Rajya. That is what we mean here. So there is a very beautiful mantra in the Mundaka Upanishad. I will read that. The mantra goes like this. Tadetat satyam yata sudiptat pavakat vistfulingaha sakatrasha prabhavante sarupa tata aksharat vida somya bhava prajayante tatra chaivapi yanthi. It says, this is the fact, this is the truth. It says, Yata sudiptat pavakat vispulingaha sakatrasha prabhavante. From blazing fire, countless sparks arise, sarupa, of the same nature. We cannot say the blazing fire is very big and a spark is tiny. We cannot ignore a spark. Yes, just because it's a tiny spark of fire, we cannot ignore. The tiny spark also can become a blazing fire. And therefore, just as from a blazing fire, countless sparks of the fire sparks arise, sarupa, of the same nature, tatha aksharat vivida bhava somya. In the same way, somya means, oh dear one, is the guru is speaking to the student. He goes, Somya, my beloved one, my dear one. Priya Shishya, that's a Somya. Oh Somya, In the same way, just as from the blazing fire, the countless sparks arise, in the same way, from the Akshara, from that imperishable Paramatma, all these living beings that we see around us, they have all arisen from that Supreme Being. The arisen, the Vivida Bhava Prajayante, they have arisen Tatra Eva Yanti, and it will go back into it. And therefore, it means whatever we see, they have manifested from the Supreme Being, and finally they merge back into that Supreme Being. This is what we call. So our nature is Sat Chit Ananda Surupa. We are like Amma's nature. She knows that her nature, she experiences that her nature, whereas we have to, through our sadhana, we have to experience that nature of Sat Chit Ananda. So therefore, our perception, we have to rectify our perfection. When we do sadhana, what happens is that we are able to go deep into ourselves, and we go really deep into ourselves, we can go very deep into the creation also. Let me give you one small example. A sannyasi was sitting on a river bank, and he was meditating, but he was not only meditating, he was keeping his eyes open, he was looking at the beautiful scenery, he was enjoying the scenery, and suddenly he noticed that an eagle suddenly swooped down, and then it grabbed a big fish and it went away. An eagle suddenly swooped down very fast, grabbed the fish and it flew away. The sannyasi looked at it for a moment, then he thought, now look, this is something like creation, this is not our perception. The eagle was able to catch the fish because the fish was swimming on the surface of the water. If the fish had been really deep, then the eagle would not have been able to catch the fish. Because the fish was on the surface, the eagle was able to catch the fish. In the same way, we are always on the surface of the creation. We see only the surface of the creation. We are not able to go deep into creation. We are not able to look deep into creations. We are not able to look deep into situations. Let me talk to the youngsters. Youngsters say we don't want spirituality, we don't want Vedas. All these are for the old people whose tooth have gone. It's not like that. Let me give you the 4 examples. 4 examples I'll give you. First example is that looking deep. All of us see things, but a real sadhaka, a very rare individual, he looks deep into things. One example, number 1, I'll give as Buddha. Buddha was he was a prince, of course, but he was a youngster, like most of you youngsters. He was a youngster, and he was passing through he was going on the streets. All of us, what all of us have seen, he saw what all of us have seen, but he saw something. When he saw a sick man, and he asked his friend was with him. He asked him, what is the problem with that person? He said, he's a sick man. Who is a sick man? Will I also get sick? Yes, of course. You have a body, you will get sick. Oh my God, I will be like that. So he was able to observe a sick man. Then when he walked, he saw a very old man walking like this. And then see what you see. What's happened to me? He is a very old man, aged man. He is 80 years old, 85 years old. Oh my God, will I also become like that? Of course, you will also become, all of us will become aged. Second shock. And then again he goes and then he sees a dead body being carried. We have seen, we will say, oh pavam, we will say. He saw a dead body, what is that? It's a corpse. What is a corpse? That person is dead. He cannot walk up, he cannot get up and walk again. He is dead, he will be cremated. Will I also die? Of course, all of us will die. So what? So Buddha has seen what all of us see, but we just see and we ignore it. Whereas he looked deep into it. The example of the fish. The fish is always on the surface. We also look only on the surface. Therefore, he completely changed. And the world, the entire world is benefited by that youngster called Buddha. He became the enlightened. Then he at that time his name was Siddhartha. Siddhartha became a Buddha, the enlightened one. They call him Amitabha. The Buddhists call him Amitabha. Amitabha means, Amit means unlimited, and Abha means light. So he is, that is the Buddha. Second example you can take. Second example is Ravana Maharshi. When Ravana Maharshi was about 12 years old, his uncle died. And he was very frightened. He said, "My God, I also will die." Yes. Then he went inside the room, he closed the door, closed the windows and everything, and then he let me see what is death. He lay down on the floor, and when a person is dead, a dead body, how will it be? He lay down on the floor, and he lay very still without moving, and he said, but this dead man does not breathe also. So he breathed out completely without no air in his lungs, and then he sat there like that. And in that instant, he understood that even though the body dies, I will not die. I am still alive. And he became enlightened. So even though the body will die, the spirit, the Chaitanya is always existing. The Sat is always existing. And he became a very great sannyasi, and the whole world was benefited by these two youngsters. Now, don't get frightened. The Swami is talking only about sannyasis. I will talk about Grihastha also. Look at Isaac Newton. Two sannyasis I talked about. Now I will talk about Grihastha, the early people. Isaac Newton. You have heard Isaac Newton. When Isaac Newton was sitting in the garden, an apple fell on him. So the same thing can happen to every one of us. Is it not? When you are sitting in the garden, it will fall on your head. But when the apple fell on Isaac Newton's head, it hurt him for a moment, then he rubbed his head. And then suddenly he started thinking, why does everything fall down? And from that moment, there was only one thought in his mind. That is so-called looking deeply at things. We also see, but we don't look. We just look and we go away. We are very busy. Our mind is so turbulent that we cannot. We just perceive. That's all. We just see. We don't look into things. So he had only one question in his mind: why does everything fall down? He got the answer, and the world is benefited by youngsters like him, Isaac Newton. Right? I'll give you just one more example. You may not heard of this, but I remember this lesson I learned when I was in the 6th standard in my English textbook. I remember the story of James Watt. James Watt, W-A-T-T, James Watt. He was my boy. He was just about 10 or 12 years old. He was sitting in the kitchen, and the tea was boiling. Was boiling water for tea, and it started the water vapor, the steam started rising. When the steam started rising, the world started it's jumping. And he looked at it, and then he understood that steam is very powerful. It can be used for the human, some kind of to serve human beings. And it was he observing this power of the steam. It was he who invented the steam engine. So I remember that the steam engine which James Watt invented was first used in coal mines, and later it was developed. It was improved by George Stephenson, which came with our railway engines. And if you see two sannyasis, youngsters, Isaac Newton and James Watt, great scientists. The world is benefited by these two types of youngsters who look deeply into things. And therefore, we also try to look deep into things. So when I'm sitting here, I have neighbors. And when I know that my neighbor has 300 crores, I feel very, very happy. I don't have even 100 crores. And when I look at the left side, right side, I see that he has 400 crores. Now look deeply. He has 300 crores and he has 400 crores. And now you go and ask him, you have 300 crores, are you happy? His answer will be no. He will say, I have only 300 crores, he has 400 crores. You go to the person who has 400 crores and ask him, are you happy? He will tell the same thing. He will say, no, I have only 400, he has 500 crores. Therefore, this is what we call as looking deep into things. Looking deep into things. So when we look deep into things, we can see that nothing can give us real joy. And then slowly we come to the Guru, and the Guru will tell us that the real joy is your very nature is real joy. Go deep into yourself and you can discover that joy. So when we come to the Rajyotsava, when we come to Rajyotsava, we come here, we chant together, we go deep into ourselves, and we should understand the power of human thought. Human thought is very powerful. The collective positive thoughts can certainly create a Ramaraja. Now, collective positive thoughts, collective divine thoughts, when we all chant together, collective divine thoughts can certainly bring a very divine atmosphere around us, and we can create a Ramaraja now. But at the same time, if we are selfish, then it is negative thoughts, collective negative thoughts can create even a hell on earth. This is what we have to understand. And therefore, there is a very beautiful Shanti mantra. We say, Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahimaheshaha gobrahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samastha sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyaha prithvi sasyashalini deshoyam kshobarahitaha brahmana santu nirbhayaha. That says, Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam. So let the people in the country be happy. Let them have swasti, peace. How can that happen? Nyayena margena mahimahisha. When the king rules the country, Nyayena margena, with justice. When he is a just king, when he rules with justice, with justice and truth, then that country becomes very prosperous. And then the third verse says, Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam. This is very misunderstood, misquoted by some people. They take out only the third line and say, you see what the Hindus say. Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam. I explained this a long time back. Let the cows and the Brahmanas be happy. So what does it mean? Why do we say that the Go Brahmanebhya Shubham Astu Nityam? Let the cows and the Brahmins be happy. They are, because fourth line explains. Go Brahmanebhya Shubham Astu Nityam. Let the cows and the Brahmins be happy. Why? Fourth line explains their chinta, their attitude is Loka Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. That is their attitude. The Brahman's attitude is, let everyone in this world be happy. The cows also, we call her mother, Gomata. From these two examples, we can say, they take only the minimum and they give the maximum. So like that, we citizens, we have rights and responsibilities. We have rights and responsibilities. We should know, we are always aware of our rights. I want, it is my right. But along with the rights, there are responsibilities, so that we have to understand it. So, the Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu. This is the attitude of the cows. They take only the minimum. They want some little hay, some little grass, and in return, how much they give. The milk products, they are so much, so valuable to us. The milk products, even the ghee is used even in the yajnas. Ghee is a medicine, aushadha. And all the byproducts of milk, they are very essential for our health. And Brahmana also, Brahmana means one who is following the Vedic path of life. That's what we call it, a Brahmana. And they say, if the Kale Varshata Parjaneha. Now we can see that the rains never come on time. Kale Varshatu Parjaneha. Let the rains come on time. When we in the newspapers, long time I read in the newspapers the erratic nature of the erratic behavior of nature. Erratic behavior of rains. Nature is never erratic. In this creation, there is only one being who is erratic, and I am very sorry to say it is the human being. Only human being is erratic. All other beings, they are very well programmed by nature. The cow never says tomorrow I will become a non-vegetarian. The tiger never says tomorrow I will become vegetarian. They are all very well programmed. It is only the human being who has no control over ourselves. Therefore, when we go against nature, and then the balanced nature is upset, then the Kale Varshatu Parjaneha, then the rains may not come on time. So our parents, Kale Varshatu Parjaneha, let us do yajnas, enough yajnas on time. We did not pour a lot of ghee into the fire. Our collective prayers are more than enough for this. And Prithvi Sasya Shalini, let the Prithvi means the earth, Prithvi Sasya Shalini, let the earth be covered with green. Green means food-bearing plants. Prithvi Sasya Shalini, let it be full of vegetation, which are useful for human beings. And Deshoyam Chobirhita, let the people be free of anger. When they don't get enough to eat, when the ruler is very wicked and very selfish, and then there will be revolution. So they'll revolt, rebellion. Deshoyam Chobirhitaha, let there be no rebellions. Let the people be happy. Brahmana Santu Nirbhaya. Let the Brahmins be fearless. Brahmana again here means one who is a Brahmajnani, who knows that he is the supreme Chaitanyam. Here we can say Amma is the ideal Brahmana. Brahmana Santu Nirbhaya. In those olden days, Brahmanas say fearless. Let the Brahmanas be fearless. Why is that? Even they should be able to control even the kings. You can see that in the Bhagavatam, Gargarishi, the Gargarishi is the Kulaguru of the Sri Krishna. Gargarishi, he goes to the court of Kamsa, and he fearlessly says, Kamsa, what you are doing is wrong. You are very selfish, you should not do that. And Kamsa says, this old man, he takes us to old man, he has come to advise me. And it is Chanura, he says, keep quiet. You see, the Rishi has a yoga danda, you will be reduced to ashes. Just be quiet. And Kamsa keeps, it was Chanura who saved Kamsa from the situation. So the Brahmins, they fearless. They will go straight to another example in the modern times is Rishi Chanak. We have heard of Chanakya. Chanakya's father was the Acharya Chanak. He knew that the Mahananda, the king, the king was very unjust. He was just taking away all the wealth of the poor. So Acharya Chanak went in the streets and he openly declared that what the king does is wrong. So he was imprisoned, and he was in the prison. He just refused to eat, and he died of starvation. And then after that, his son Chanakya grew up, and then he managed with this cleverness, his smartness and intelligence, he punished that king, the Nanda dynasty king, and then he put Chandragupta in his place. This you know very, very well. This is the citizens should be dharmic. Both the citizens and the king should be dharmic. So as Amma's children, what is our dharma? Whether we are at home or we are in our prayer hall, wherever we are, we try to be selfless. Let us always think what we can give. So I'll give you a very good example. Especially now, when we come to places of worship, how should we behave? When we come to our temples or when we come to places of worship, how should we behave? I'll give you a very good example, then you can understand. In a school, the one student was there. His father was an MP. His father was an MP, and this student was very, very mischievous, very, very naughty, very troublesome student. And he was always the teacher used to say, "Get out." So the student is always standing outside the class. Very naughty, very, very mischievous, troublesome fellow. So one day the MP came to the school, and he told the headmaster, and he told the teacher, "Now look here, the headmaster, look, my teacher, I want you to make my son, he should grow up and he should be an outstanding personality like me." So he thought he was an outstanding personality. You know what's outstanding personality? You should make my son also an outstanding personality. And then he went back. And when he was going back, the classmates ran to the MP and said, "Sir, your son is already an outstanding personality." Why is that? He's outstanding outside the class. He's always standing outside the class. Therefore, he is an outstanding personality. Can you understand the humor in that? The double meaning. Outstanding is standing outside the class, though he is an outstanding personality. Okay, so let us come to the Kshetra. In the Kshetra, if you see one of the girls, she gave an example of the tortoise, and the kurma. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this is how we should behave. You can say, it says, "Yada samharite chayam kurmungani cha sarvashaha indriyani irtebhya tasya yada samharite chayam kurmongani cha sarvashaha indriyani indriyartebhya tasya prajna pradishtita." It says that person's intellect is firmly established. What does it do? Yada samharite chayam kurmongani cha sarvasha. Like a tortoise. A tortoise has head and 4 legs. When it senses danger, it withdraws its head and legs into itself. The hard shell is there. Nobody can harm the tortoise. It is called pratyahara, withdrawal. The head and the 4 legs, withdrawing the head and the 4 heads, it becomes safe. So you can see in the Deepastambha, in our Brahmasthana Kshetra also, you can see in all Brahmasthana Kshetras, all Kshetras, you can see Deepastambham. In the Deepastambham, beneath you can see that our little the sister, she explained that. Beneath the Deepastambham, we can see the tortoise. And then we see innumerable the lights, deepams, so many deepams. And on top, you can see, if it is a Devi Kshetra, you can see Simha, Keshari, lion. If it is a Shiva Kshetra, you can see Nandi, the bull. And if it is a Vishnu Kshetra, you can see Garuda. So all three, we can say the lion, and the Nandi, the bull, and Garuda, they are outstanding personalities. So if you have this quality of pratyahara, if you have that quality, it's called yama, withdrawal. The one who is withdrawn means who has controlled his 5 senses. One who has self-control, all Aishwaryam will come to him, and he will become an outstanding personality. So this is what we call as the outstanding personality. This is what we learn from the Deepastambham. But remember, when we enter the temple, when we do seva to the temple, and when we do seva for Amma, gradually we become outstanding. When our what do you call it? Sadhana increases. When you do a lot of japa, dhyanam, etc., and seva, etc., slowly we become outstanding personalities. So the tapas, Vivekananda, that tapas makes him an outstanding personality. But let's go to the example of the classroom. The boy was standing outside and he is an outstanding personality. That is not the outstanding personality. In the same way, when we come inside the temple, we should be very, very humble. When we come inside the temple, we should be very, very humble. And because inside the temple, we should always remember that there is only one power. It is God, and God alone is the power. We are only His humble servants. All power, whatever power we have from the gods, we have, or whatever power we have, it has come from Bhagavan, or it has come from Bhagavati. So we have as Amma's children, we have this very, very important, important dharma. Collectively, when we come into the hall, it said we are like outstanding. God says we are now outstanding personalities, because we are outside the temple. We are not able to enter a temple. Are you aware of that? Yeah, like that student, we are outstanding personalities outside the temple. We are not able to enter the temple. So we have to rectify ourselves when we are inside the temple, when we are inside the Yajnashala, when we are inside the place of worship. We should be very, very humble. We should never show our individuality in such places. There we become very, very humble. That is the very, very important point we have to understand. It is our sacred duty to maintain the places, the sanctity and purity of our places of worship, temples and or other halls also. I can give you just one example and then I will stop. Many years back, when we went for the Indian tour, North Indian tour, we went to Mathura, the very place where Bhagavan Sri Krishna was born, the Karagraha, the prison where Bhagavan Sri Krishna was born, that very place where Sri Krishna was born. And there, fortunately, the Amma was in front, and fortunately, I was just behind Amma. So we went to the place where we went to the exact place where Sri Krishna was born. And there a priest was sitting there to see, because they are not able to maintain the purity. When Amma, usually when VIPs come, we garland them. When the priest say or when we give some, when we do some special pujas, they will garland us. So when Amma was going in front of me, and this person, the priest, he had a garland in front of him. He was holding a garland, and when Amma stood in front of him, and she turned to him, and he was looking at Amma with the garland. And Amma bowed down her head so that he could garland Amma. And I gestured him. I showed him like 3 times. I gestured like, put the garland. He was staring at Amma because he had it. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I had to say this. He did not have enough purity to understand that Sri Krishna was standing before him, even though he was sitting in the very place where Sri Krishna was born. I gestured him 3 times, put the mala. He was just staring at Amma because Amma is such a simple person. Amma then walked on. And then when I came there, I am a Shankaracharya. He tried to garland me. I just put it away and then I walked away. This is bad luck. I had to say this. Now come to another point. After that, we went to Delhi. From there, we came to Calcutta. When coming back, we came to Jamshedpur. In Jamshedpur, in the morning, we had a program in Hanuman temple that was on the top of a hill. And at the time, the devotees were very less. So by 1 o'clock, we knew the darshan will be over. See, half the way up the hill, there was a Kamakshyaman temple from Tamil Nadu. The Tamils, they have built a Kamakshyaman temple. So those devotees, they came to Amma and said, Amma, while you are coming back, please step into our temple also. Amma said, certainly I will come. So after the program in Hanuman temple on the top of the hill, after the Amma's speech and Amma's the bhajana and after darshan, I think by 1 o'clock it was over. So she was, while coming down, she came to the Kamakshaman temple. So we brahmacharis, a few brahmacharis, we had gone there in advance just to keep the things, the Pada Puja, etc. And I was, the pujari was doing puja. the Pujari was doing puja. He was offering flowers to the Kamakshama. I was standing on his right side and Amma entered. Amma entered from the side and he was offering flowers to the Kamakshyaman, the Vigraha. And when Amma reached near him, he started offering flowers at Amma's feet. He started offering flowers at Amma's feet. We brahmacharis were very happy. But after that, some of the devotees said that the temple authorities did not like it. They asked the Pujari, why did you offer flowers at Mataji's feet? What you know what's the answer? He said, now look here, Kamakshama Vigraha is there. When I was doing the puja for Kamakshama, suddenly I saw Sakshat Kamakshaman walking towards me. We could see only white sari, but he saw Sakshat Bhagavati Kamakshaman. He saw that the 30 years I have been worshipping Kamakshaman, I saw the Sakshat Kamakshaman walking towards me, and I offered the flowers at her feet. Therefore, the point is this: as Amma's devotees, one important dharma we have is that when we have internal purity, we will see that we maintain the external purity also. So the places of worship where like Brahmasthanams and especially Amma's stage where Amma comes and sits every day, these places of worship, it is we devotees, we have to maintain the purity and sanctity of that place. So by doing a lot of archanas, etc., and then after that we maintain the purity. We remember that this is a place where Amma comes. This is even if it is a yajnashala, even if it's a kalyana mandapam. I used to sometimes I tell the devotees, now look here, please. This is a yajnashala. This is not kalyana mandapam. Even if you think it's a Kalyana Mandapam, the Kalyana Mandapam should be the Kalyanam between Jivatma and Paramatma. That Kalyana Mandapam can be there. If you think Kalyana Mandapam in that way, that is okay. Kalyanam is the real Kalyanam is Jivatma becoming one with the Paramatma. That's the real Kalyanam. So that way it can be a Kalyana Mandapam. Otherwise it is a Yajnashala. So this is a very, very important the point we have to understand. Let us continue, even though now slowly we are able to come to Amma for darshan. Slowly, I hope that we can come back to our temples. Slowly, the problem is now becoming less and less. By Amma's grace, we can slowly come back to the hall, and we can have we can have programs, archanas, etc. And then, of course, we should be able to maintain that purity, the sanctity and purity of that the place of worship. At least if we are not able to maintain the sanctity and purity of the prayer hall and temple, then how can we maintain purity outside? That purity of the temples and place of worship, that should flow out into the surroundings, and then the whole place, that is called Utsava. Utsava means, it's a Rajyolsava. Utsava means, that was explained so many times. Utsrava means overflowing. So we sit in the hall and we chant, and then the mantra vibrations, they fill the entire temple, the entire temple hall, the Yajnashala, and they overflow and they go to the surroundings. That is what we call it, the Utsravam. And then the whole locality becomes pure and sanctified. So this way, when we do a lot of yajnas, we do a lot of chantings, etc., we become mentally pure and selfless. In that way, by Amma's grace, we can convert our Rajya into a Rama Rajya. So let us pray to Amma to give us purity, compassion, all the good qualities, selflessness, and to make us worthy children of Amma, so that we can slowly convert this into a Rama Rajyam. So this is what we call as Rajya Ulsava. I offer these words at the lotus feet of Amma. Om Amriteshwari Namaha.